Thank you for staying with us. Time now for us to get into the news review. We host the NDC's parliamentary candidate-elect for South Tone. He says I should always focus on the South. Maxwell Lukutor, he's our guest. Before I bring him into the fray, this segment always brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. And the proposition is the same. They're offering you, if you're a man, free prostate screening. If you're a woman, free fertility screening. Just locate them at any of their branches. There's here in Accra, Spintex opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi Kronomabwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrady Anaji State. There's also Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswede Siamanzima. The call lines 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. But I have this question for you. What have brought it to you in the news this morning? I just want to run it by you. It's something that we've discussed before, taxes. But I ask, would you pay more taxes if there were some guarantee of better living? So recently, of course, we heard of what some people call celebrity tax. If you're a master of ceremonies or an influencer on social media, then government wants to tax you a bit, the same way they're doing with bettors, 10% for bettors. I don't know what percentage that would attract. For some of us, major upscale gigs would attract the withholding tax of 7.5%. But now they want to spread it across, so everything you do, you'll be taxed on it. What is your take on that? Let me know via the live stream. Join News on Facebook. Well, let me say a very good morning now to Maxwell. Good morning, Max.
Good morning, my brother. How are you?
I am well. More taxes for better living. What do you think?
Yeah, good morning. First of all, let me commend you for remembering the South very, very well. And to ask what your lunch is going to be, Zikobe or Wachi or Kinke.
Anyway, we'll discuss that one later. What do you think?
I want your lunch for me, that's why I'm asking. I want your lunch to be on me. Yes.
Okay, let's do some Wachi.
That's okay. So, like you said earlier, it's always been a cliche that you can't tax people to prosperity. And so you can't continue taxing people every day. There are a lot of us who are taxed in different angles. And so there should be some angles that you have some respite. Right. This entertainment industry, other things. There are a lot of taxes that we exact from these individuals. So why do we think that we should continue taxing them to the last bone of every fish they eat? No, I don't think. And no tax person will tell you that you can tax people into prosperity. Of course, a lot of the people should be brought into the tax net, but it doesn't mean that every little thing anybody does would have to be taxed. If you are not sure, very soon, even for briefing, you will be taxed for briefing. And it's not the best situation we find ourselves. Even though people would want to ask, what do you use the taxes that you are already taking to do? They would want you to justify it before they think about paying more. Of course, it is our responsibility as citizens to also inquire from government what we use our money to do. If we see extravagance, if you see flamboyance in their style of living, if one minister can have all that money in her bedroom, and if you see things happening like it used to happen in the past, where the president will be flying anywhere, anyhow, in very expensive and luxurious airplanes, paying so much just for a trip, which can be done better because his other colleagues from other countries are doing same, then it puts you to think, why should we continue to pay more taxes to the government for them to go and...
But you also realize that without taxes, completely without them, the country will run aground, right?
Yeah, my brother. So I said earlier, admitted that taxes are necessary for our growth. And then I also continue to say that we can't tax people into prosperity. Then I am also saying that people would want to ask you what you are already taxing them is being used for. They would want to justify some of those things. So if you take it and you are not using it for any, in quote, reasonable thing and you want to take more, will people be encouraged to pay more? No, I'm not sure they will do. So you should be able to convince them that what I have is being used to construct your roads, is being used to provide water, is being used to provide electricity at a very subsidized cost where you can pay, and all those other things for you to be encouraged to say, oh, if I do this, my road in my corner will be fixed because I saw my colleagues one being fixed, mine will also be fixed. I don't have to spend extra money myself going to buy gravels to come and fill my potholes. When it rains, the whole road becomes very messy. And every day on the motorway, I have to be buying shock absorbers. That money that should be used in buying shock absorbers will be used to pay tax if the motorway is fixed. So for me, it's a chicken and egg issue. Government should be seen to be doing the things that citizens expect them to do before we can also push further to want to pay the more taxes for them to use to do the things that I don't think in the Western world people complain so much when these taxes are imposed on them. Sometimes those of us in Ghana, when we complain, our colleagues in outside will tell you, this is normal. In Europe, we do this, we pay this, that, we pay this, that. But the issue is that the things they need, they have been fixed for them.
The
but
deliverables,
we have to do everything by ourselves.
Well, thank you for those.
So that is the reason why you see us grumbling when we have to pay more of these taxes because we don't see what they end up using it to do.
Thank you for those thoughts, and I agree with you to a large extent. It's not about how much you're paying, it's about the quality of life that your taxes would give you in return. After all, that's why we elect governments, to provide certain things for us. Most people wouldn't have, you wouldn't have an airport, a private airport or something of the sort. These are things, roads. Usually it is the state that does these things. Now we're talking about dialysis at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, which has moved from over 300 cedis to about 800 cedis, all because taxes or waivers have been withdrawn, and now they are facing the full thrust of taxation. And we're taxing ourselves into everything. Now it's impacting the health sector, it's impacting every sector, and just making life pretty burdensome. But we soldier on. We don't throw in the towel. We'll keep soldiering on. It reminds me of that lady who claims recently that she's been victimized. She's been victimized at work. The one who was at the demonstration put together by Democracy Hub.
The Lobby House demonstration.
Exactly. And what she said, it broke my heart. And now there are claims that she's been victimized at work, at least not substantiated, so I'll not go into it. But that's what she's put out on social media. Anyway, we'll see how things go. Let's get into the daily graphic, but don't forget, those of you watching us, to share your own thoughts with us via the social media stream. The daily graphic: 400 school children stranded. Rainstorm rips off school roof. And you can find this. I mean, I'm not trying to be insensitive to them, but you would even find places where there are worse structures. In fact, no structures under trees and the rest. So at least they have a little bit of a structure and the roof has been ripped off. We pray that the right thing will be done. And as for the places that don't even have a structure, God have mercy. Scrap Article 71. It's unfair. TUC charges. And Ghana on course for EU timber trade license. That's according to the Lands and Natural Resources Minister. And CJ advocates financial independence of judiciary. All right. So let's get into the stories now. This first one. The Trades Union Congress has joined the call for the special salary and emoluments dispensation given to office holders under Article 71 of the 1992 Constitution to be scrapped, saying the provision is discriminatory. The Secretary General of the TUC, Dr. Anthony Yauban, said Article 71 had created a superclass of people at the expense of others, fueling discrimination and injustice against other classes of public sector workers. Speaking at the Institute of Economic Affairs Constitutional Review Seminar last Tuesday, Dr. Barr said, quote, Article 71 smacks of discrimination between the political elite and the people. Why should some public servants be placed under Article 71 and others treated differently? We must either amend or change the Constitution and scrap Article 71. The TUC boss said Article 71 of the 1992 Constitution was also at variance with other provisions of the same Constitution, such as Article 24, which stipulates, quote, equal pay for equal work without distinction of any kind. That's the story there. Let me quickly jump to page 13, do those two stories there, and have you give your quick reactions, your summary reactions to them. So the first one, the Chief Justice, Justice Gertrude Saki Tokonu, has bemoaned the lack of financial independence of the judiciary, saying it was negatively affecting the work of the judiciary and ultimately justice delivery. Justice Tokonu, who was speaking at the 2023 annual general meeting of the Association of Magistrates and Judges Ghana yesterday, said although the 1992 Constitution protected the independence of the judiciary, the service had no control over its financial administration. Quoting Article 1271 of the 1992 Constitution, the Chief Justice said the Constitution had categorically insulated all activities of the judiciary, including its financial administration, from external control to protect its independence due to the sensitivity of its functions. And she says, quote, "How can we be an independent arm of government if we do not have control over our finances? Is the constitutionally guaranteed institutional independence of the judiciary only a mirage?" So financially, they are not independent, and that is problematic. Finally, 400 school children stranded. Rainstorm rips off school roof. And the fate of over 400 pupils of the Manle, Dada Basic and African Unity Schools in the La Dade Kotopon municipality hangs in the balance after a rainstorm destroyed their classrooms. A 9-unit classroom block and adjoining offices at the African Unity School were destroyed in May this year, but they have not seen any renovation yet. May, we're in September. So the school and its roof, and you can see rainwater even collecting in the classrooms, the CJ and financial independence of the judiciary, and Article 71. Your take, Maxwell.
Yeah, my brother, about the ripping off of the roof of the little children, their classroom. It's unfortunate that this is our engineering arguments. I don't know whether we have sold them, and our conscience doesn't prick us when we do some of these things. But it more tends to be what the supervisors would want to exact from these contractors who are doing this particular work.
Have you seen the recent building that collapsed somewhere in Ofanko, I think?
Yes. It's also lack of supervision. The quest to make money at every instance has taken over our sense of judgment and responsibility. A lot of our people are thinking every day more of how they can make so much into their own pocket to the detriment of the quality of work they have to deliver. Unfortunately, we have a system of checking some of these things, but the supervisors are worse off. They would want to take the 20%, the 10%, the 15% from the contractor. And so instead of using a particular thickness of the roofing sheet to roof, he may want to go down a little more. Maybe you are supposed to use 4 mm to go do the roofing, but you go and take a 3.5 mm use. Maybe the quality of wood that he has to use, no, the lot.
Well, it appears we're losing the connection to Maxwell Lukuto. We'll try to work it out and get him back on the show. Maxwell, we lost you briefly. I got a lot of what you said about the 4 mm to 3.5 mm and all of that. But briefly, your quick thoughts. Go ahead.
Yeah, so again, I'm saying that if the supervisors do a good job and then they supervise every aspect of the project, I'm not sure some of these things will be happening. How many times have we seen very old buildings being ripped off or being affected by disaster in this nature? It is rather the new ones that are being constructed that are getting affected every day. So I think that if the supervisors do their job very properly,
right,
would avert some of these things. And people should be held responsible if these things happen. A contractor is known, so he should be hauled, he should be made to go back as quickly as possible to go and repair these things. Now, about the Article 71 workers, it's unfortunate that they are the masters of the game. They are the ones who set the rules. And so TUC may want to complain, they will listen, but whether they're going to change is another matter. And so it's unfortunate. Of course, no two workers can be the same. Yes, equal pay for equal work. But it was until recently that we have this a single spine salary structure be designed and implemented for a class of people. Unfortunately, in the past, you see every aspect, like the police, the teachers, the nurses, having their structure differently. So gradually we are getting there. I just pray and hope that they will listen and also synchronize this thing. But I don't know how soon that will really happen. And so it's unfortunate. The third issue, it's about the
Chief Justice and the financial strength.
Yeah, the Chief Justice. Unfortunately, our fear is that once they are giving this independence to manage their finances, even now the filing fees and the court fees that we pay are already high. We wouldn't be too sure how things are going to go. And so we are just scared that if they are giving that kind of independence, things will also go off the roof. But of course, I'm sure being an arm of government, they're going to discuss that with the executive and also through the parliament so that we see how these things can be done. But I don't know how many institutions, I'm not sure parliament has its own way of managing its finances. They also depend on the executive to manage their finances. And so I wouldn't be too sure how easy government or the executive arm is going to take this and to get it up for them. I am not too sure. It's always been like, check me, let me check you. And so I am not sure government or the executive arm is going to budge and to give them the financial independence that they may be seeking at this moment. I'm not too sure.
Right. Let's get into some other stories very quickly. The Ghanaian Times newspaper, measures to ensure public health safety. FDA to clamp down on media over promotion of unapproved medicines. And unapproved medicines, if they're not approved, you don't go ahead and advertise them. That's the bottom line. But some media houses, unfortunately, dabbling in that. Here we have standards, of course, and we check for FDA approval. And then there's 38th National Farmers Day to be held in the Western region, and Ghana to save $2 billion in 2023 from external debt service suspension. That's according to the governor. When all this talk comes through, sometimes I just ask myself, how does this affect the person on the street? You know, even Kofi Brokman is no longer for, you can't be broke and get Kofi Brokman, you know. So all this talk we like, and to save this and to do that, how is it affecting the ordinary man? Zilch. Police chase man for allegedly poisoning girlfriend to death. So let's just do those stories very quickly. We'll go to page 11 and then, let me see, we'll do page 3 first. The police are on a manhunt for a 22-year-old Okada rider who allegedly poisoned to death his girlfriend at Kransang in the Suhum municipality of the Eastern region. The Okada rider, whose name has only been given as Akoko, was the boyfriend of a 17-year-old Matilda Dankwa, who recently completed or graduated from junior high school. I don't know why we always use completed. What have they completed? Confirming the incident to journalists, the assembly member for the area, Ransford Novo, said Dankwa became pregnant for the Okada rider and she refused to terminate the pregnancy when the suspect requested her to do so. The assembly member said the suspect carried the girlfriend on his motorcycle, and a few minutes later, she was found dead with foam oozing out of her mouth. And the police say they suspected foul play and appeal to the public to divulge any information that may lead to the arrest of the suspect. What a very dastardly act and a sad way to go. But let's get to that story on page 11. The Food and Drugs Authority has said it will sanction media houses that promote unapproved medicines as part of measures to ensure public health and safety. Pursuant to Section 129 of Act 85, quote, persons who contravenes were liable to summary convictions or a fine not less than 7,500 penalty units and not more than 15 years and not more than 25 years imprisonment or both. Pictured there, Dr. Delese Mimidako, CEO of the FDA, would want them to be more active when it comes to such issues, and it is good that they are highlighting some of them. Let's quickly get into the Daily Guide, and I'll let you respond because these are pretty straightforward matters. The Daily Guide says, stay focused, we'll win. That's according to Bawumia. And of course, another story captured there, Kojopoku endorses Veep. I saw that yesterday. Then Ken launches donation platform. That story on page 6. I don't know about Kojopoku, some of what he used to say, and supporting maybe the front runner for the MPP's flag bearership. But, well, I guess in politics, it's what they say. Sales shift depending on what happens at what time. And this interesting story, Mahama girl trolled over car, quotation marks, bride comment. That story is on page 6, and this is what it says. Joyce Bawumia, an aide to former President John Dramani Mahama, was caught in the crossfire yesterday with tweets of media personality Nana Aba Anamwa over a picture of one of the saloon cars, not salon. Salon is where you go to fix your hair. Saloon is the car. Saloon cars supplied by the NDC in 2012 to Lure University of Ghana students. On September 25, 2023, Nana Aba Anamwa posted the picture with a caption, quote, in 2012 by this time, the NDC was distributing this car on the Legon campus. Ironically, none of the male students got one, end of quote. Well, this upset the ex-president's aide who reprimanded the TV personality and questioned her motives. Joyce wrote, quote, what's the intent? Shame NDC ladies under a guy's tweet because some are being criticized for their silence in the face of today's hardship and poor leadership. This shouldn't be coming from you, my sister. An avoidable tweet. Anyway, those are the stories, and the NDC also coming into the fray. Any thoughts?
Yeah, about the Food and Drugs Authority and on the media houses. Yes, it's true that most media houses are struggling, and even how to pay their workers is always an issue. How much is being paid should not even be discussed at all. And so sometimes they go to the extremes to want to do some adverts that they have not verified the authenticity or otherwise even licenses from the Food and Drugs Authority.
Right.
And they go ahead to do. A bigger example is we also recently about this Makofa mixture, where somebody just poured malt, Coca-Cola and Fanta into a container, labeled it Makofa, and gave out to some media houses. And then they went haywire advertising, and some to the extent that they themselves have experienced it, that it is good for performance in bed and these other things. Unfortunately, most of these smaller media houses are corporates in issues of this nature. To stay alive and afloat, they go to the extent of doing anything and everything to make money out of these peddlers, to be able to sort out themselves. And so I think that is a good thing if the Food and Drugs Authority will zoom into the media houses and make sure that those who do these things against the regulations of the nations are brought to book. Unfortunately, these very people, when they're doing it, they even cite the Food and Drugs Authority as have approved these things that they're advertising. So you ask yourself, where have they cited the approval certificate or whatever before they go ahead?
Or are some entities faking the certificate? That could be another problem.
Yes, exactly. There are some entities that also fake the certificates and give to them, and they don't do their double checking from the FDA before they go ahead and do all these things. And for me, the intriguing aspect is that the media personalities themselves sometimes put themselves in their shoe. They will say that I have tried it, I have tested it, and I have found the potency and all that. Meanwhile, they have not even taken a sip of it. It's so unfortunate. So some of these things should be checked, and it's good. Yeah.
Right. Thank you, Maxwell, for your thoughts on that. We've basically come to the end of the news review. There's the story in the Business Finder. Fruit vegetable farmers must enhance intra-Africa trade and quick loan services for Access Bank customers. I believe that will bring us to the conclusion of the news review. If you can hear me, Maxwell, do you have any final thoughts right before we wrap?
Yeah, of course. It's still about this registration exercise, and I want to wish that people go out and ensure that the 18-year-olds and above get registered for the limited registration exercise that is still ongoing. I'm sure it will end by Monday, and so people should be encouraged to do that. And about this dialysis thing at Kolebu, it breaks my heart to hear some of these things. And for people to know that you have to do dialysis 3 times in a week, and at each shot you are paying about 736 Ghana cedis or so. It's so killing, and so the health ministry and government should do something about this thing. If not, more people are going to die out of this thing. It's heartbreaking to hear some of this thing, and it's unfortunate. The lady you spoke about earlier in the video spoke about how a teacher's ward died because the dialysis machine broke down at
Right.
Konebu, and now out of nowhere it's been increased and it's going to tell more on a lot more people. It's unfortunate.
Right.
The government should fight and help us sort out some of these things.
Right, and of course, we know part of that is on the back of taxation. Well, thank you, Maxwell Lukuto, for joining the conversation. He, of course, is the NDC's parliamentary candidate-elect for South Tong. He joined the conversation. Have a good day, Maxwell. So right before we go, of course, shouts to Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. They enable us to bring you the segment every day. And here's what they're offering you. If you're a man, prostate screening for free. Have you ever checked your prostate? When was the last time you did? If you do. If you're a woman, do you know your fertility status? Well, you can get screened at Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic for free. You can locate them at Accra Spintex, opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi Kronomabwe here, behind the Angel Educational Complex, Takrady Anaji State, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa and Siamanzuma. Their call lines 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. And for the first time in a long while, Chelsea winning a match by a goal to nothing. That's something to celebrate, right? The Blues. Sports is up next.